What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update from stuff that I did since the last video, and then we've got quite a few things I want to knock out during this video. So for starters, I ran my 8-gauge trolling motor wire. Like I said, I'm gonna route from the back all the way up to the front, just so I can have a 24-volt system if I end up doing that. And so I started right here and I pushed it through that tube all the way to the back here, and it was a real pain in the butt, but I did end up getting it to come out back down through there. So it took probably 15 minutes of just messing around trying to get it, because it goes back into a cavity back there in the back, and then I have to try and fish it out and pull it through that conduit hole. So I got that done, and I ran it through the top here, so it'll be behind the main panel. So this main side panel sits right here, and then this other little cover panel just goes between here and the console, and that's what the steering and my two transducer wires will run through, is just this small panel. But I wanted that trolling motor wire to go through the entire, all the way up the side. So you can see it'll come all the way up here. I'm gonna have to pull this foam out again to run it behind it, and then it will pop out just right here. And as you guys saw, I also painted my console. So I did it was like a gray hammered spray paint, and then I put some flake into it. Did a flake coat over top. It's not gonna show up on camera that well, but it gave the perfect old school bass boat look. So it looks gray, but man, when the sun hits it, she's gonna be sparkling. It's gonna look awesome. And then the original, I'll call it a windshield, but just this tiny little piece here, it was kind of like a purple hue. It had like a purple tint to it. So I took some spray tint. It's like what you tint your tail lights and stuff with, and painted the whole backside of it, covered it all up, so now it looks black from the front. So pretty good. It turned out awesome. I'm gonna let it, I sprayed it, I think it's been curing for 1 day now. I'm gonna let it cure for 1 more day, and then I'm gonna wet sand it, just to knock down some of the overspray. You can feel, it's kind of a little bit rough, but it's not too bad. I'll probably just do a quick wet sand on it just to smooth it out a little bit. But yeah, it turned out awesome. Super pumped about that. It's that perfect old school, candy metallic look. Looks sweet. Much better than the old sun faded original fiberglass. So, and then I also did some work on this front plate here. So I don't know if I showed you guys this in the last video or not, but this is the front control plate, and I talked about it, but I added the quick disconnect plugs for my 2 dock lights on the sides, and then made this new plate that'll go in the center. And then this is my new trolling motor plug. It'll be a 50 amp plug. And the reason I wanted to switch plugs is because this old plug right here, you can see it's just a rubber connector. There's no latches or anything on it. And then on this Atwood connector, basically just sat in there. And so you'd pull the trolling motor up when you were done at one spot, take off, run across the lake to another spot, and by the time you get there, hitting waves and stuff, the trolling motor would unplug itself. So then you drop the trolling motor, you're kind of coasting into the bank, and you go to use it, and all of a sudden it starts beeping, it's unplugged, and this one doesn't start back up instantly. So it takes a good 10-15 seconds after you plug it in to get it going. And so then you go crashing into the trees and stuff. So this will be nice because it's a thumb button. It'll actually have a hard lock into that connector. I'll show you the other half of it here. But yeah, so it's got a nice aluminum thumb button. Should lock right in there, never come out. So that should be slick. That's a big upgrade. Something that I was going to do anyways. And I also added a remote charge port in the back here by the transom. So I drilled a 2-inch hole and I stumbled across this. It's basically just an extension cord with a socket. And then you can see here, it's got the plug down in there. And I will just plug my dual bank charger into it. The other end of it's right here. So basically, yeah, I'll just plug this into this and then just plug my extension cord in back here, so I won't have to lift this lid. Lifting the lid's not a big deal, but when you have this back seat on, it won't lift up all the way, and it's hard. You're digging around in there, and this will just be a lot easier, and I think it looks good. So I'm gonna hopefully get that all mounted up today, finish up running that trolling motor wire, and then I want to do the front navigation light, fix up a bunch of the wiring up front here. So let's get after it. Alright, so let's start with this remote power port back here. I've got these stainless self-tappers. See how this goes. Looks pretty straight. She is secure. Looks good. That'll make it much easier. And like I said, all you have to do for that is take this end of the cord and just plug your dual bank charger in. And just like that, it's live. So much cleaner, and I think it looks awesome back here. And I wasn't even looking for that, I just stumbled across it. I think I was looking at that plug that I ended up buying for the trolling motor, and that showed up as like something that you need, and they got me because I needed it. So yeah, turned out pretty sweet. I was a little nervous about drilling a 2-inch hole in my boat, but obviously this surface shouldn't see a lot of water. It'll get a little bit of spray, but nothing too serious. So now let's finish routing this trolling motor wire up to the front. I gotta pull this foam out, or at least pull it back a little bit, and then we'll get it routed all the way up here and see how that looks. So let's get to it. Okay, I got it routed all the way up behind that foam. Put the foam back in place. So now we just got to route it up to the front and then up there to that hole. So let's get it up there. Just like that. Now we're good to go. We can connect that to the back of our connector. But now, while I'm still up here working in this area, I want to fix this front navigation light. So let's get that pulled out of there. You can see that one's all cracked and weather checked, so it was time to be replaced anyways. And we had issues last year when we were down on Lake St. Clair. Our navigation light wasn't working for some reason. I don't know if it was the connector pins in the bottom of that socket or what the deal was, but here's the new one. And so we're going to do a little bit of wiring. Basically is identical location, and I just got to clean those wires up. I'm going to clean up this joint. It looks horrible, so let's fix all that stuff up quick, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get done. Alright, so the front's all done now. You can see I tidied up all that wiring. And actually the factory was not even soldered. They were using shark bites for their connection. So I got rid of one set of shark bites. Now I just have 2 sets on each wire. And that is for my 2 dock lights. That's why I have the 2 sets. So everything up front now is done. I also fixed up this plug. Got it all connected. This thing's going to be sweet. Just locks right on. It's got a thumb press to disconnect. Nice easy plug. Weatherproof. It's made for outdoor use, so that thing should be slick. I won't have to listen to my trolling motor beeping at me anymore. But now let's move to the back. So I have this 60 amp inline fuse that I'm going to add to my power wire. So let's go ahead and get that thrown on. So there we go, 60 amp inline breaker, not even a fuse. So when you're out on the water, instead of blowing a fuse and having to replace it, you just come back, flip the lever, and you're good to go. Trim these to the same length. And then I ordered some battery post connectors. They haven't came yet, but that's what we'll put on here. So that's ready to go for the trolling motor. When I put that front panel, when I mount my front panel back up, we will be in business. So yeah, got the front navigation light done, all the wiring fixed up, ran that trolling motor wire all the way up front, and we got the trolling motor wires in the back. And then I'm going to terminate the old wires, cut them off. I already cut them off up front, but I'm going to cut them off back here in the back too, just so there's no chance of ever getting power to them again, so we don't have a short. We've had enough shorts on this boat already. So, but now, one last thing for today. Let's go ahead and try and get this transducer mounted up. Alright, so I'm going to start off by filling these holes from the old speedometer up really good. Do not want a leak. Okay, and then we'll just give a little extra. That's good for right now. And so for a side imaging transducer, you want to make sure it's going to be below the bottom of the boat with clear on both sides, as well as not be right behind a rib in your boat so you don't get air bubbles. So I'm gonna, when I mount this, I'm gonna start all the way at the bottom so then I can go lower. Otherwise, I think you'll run into problems if you try and start up in the middle, and then you'll get it to a point where you can't go low enough. So let me go grab the drill and we'll get this baby mounted up. I'm thinking right about there. And then you also want to make sure that it's level. Right now it looks like we're tipped just slightly. I'm going to take a step back and look at it quick. It looks pretty level right there to me. And then my deucer is going to be about right there. So, see, I already want to go a little bit lower. So that looks level. Let's get our other screw put in. Now we're tight, but I am going to pull those screws back out and put some silicone down in there just to make sure. Get it good down in there around those screws. All right. Run them back in. Make sure we're level. That looks good. Could have actually gone back up, but that's fine. I'd rather have it be low. And I'll test it. And if we need to move it back up later, we can. But my other one's about the same height, so we should be good. But let's fill the... I want to make sure this hole gets really, really filled. Push it down in there, fill that whole thing up. All right, should be good to go. Now let's get this bad boy mounted up. Make sure it's level. Needs to come up a notch. Perfect. Okay, so we got the transducer mounted, and now we need to do a little cable management. So this right here was the P-clamp for the speedometer. So I'm going to take that out. And I have some stainless steel P-clamps. So I'm going to go grab one of those. Nice new clamp, rubber coated. And I'm also going to throw some silicone in there, just to be sure. Perfect. So now we got the deucer wire all connected. We can pull it back in from the front. Looks good. And so we can pull the slack up from here. So she should be tight. And then of course I'll probably cut that zip tie and then zip tie both my deucer wires to that steering column there. But yeah, turned out perfect. And I actually have a few more stainless P-clamps, so I'm probably going to come over here to my old one that they put on here. This is where the original transducer was when I bought the boat, and fix these up because they're already rusty and these clamps are going to break. So I'll replace those quick. But that is gonna do it for this video, guys. Got quite a bit done tonight. I was waiting for my glue and that finally showed up today, so we can get started on the back with all the painting and sanding and stuff I've been doing. I'm gonna want to clean that off really good, get all the dust off there, and so I'll do that. And then I'm hoping this weekend we can get started on laying that vinyl flooring. So stay tuned. There's more exciting stuff coming. We're going to start in the rear and get that floor all done, the hardest part of the whole boat. So, but thanks for stopping by, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Lots more videos coming, so stay tuned to the channel. We'll catch you guys on the next one.